So let's start with the last part of this chapter, that is Unit 11, New Empires and Kingdoms. I hope you have seen the first two videos. Please see the videos and complete your answers too. So in the last part of the video, we will be discussing of this chapter about the new kind of army that the kings prepared. The last we saw that how these rulers or these important men in the kingdom, when they hold 2 to 3 positions or the positions became hereditary, how strong they became in the kingdom and how this the way they became strong, how this led to making an independent empire by themselves. So they had a lot of powers. The power that they had was so tremendous that means that they not only controlled the kingdom, they even broke from the main kingdom and themselves started making independent kingdoms. So now in the new army, how there was a well-maintained army with chariots, with elephants, with cavalry, that means the men who walk on foot, soldiers. So beside them, there were military leaders also who provided rulers with troops wherever they required. So these the important rulers, these important men in the kingdom, when they broke into different kingdoms, became independent also from the main kingdom. And when the king had such a lot of kings, such a huge empire under the control, so for each of his provinces he used to put a governor, which governor separately, governor, or they can be a prince who he used to put in these kingdoms as an in charge. So these themselves had a separate troops, separate army. When the king required them, they ordered them to come. So whenever they were required, they were called by the king. So feudal lords were not paid regular salaries. Instead, some of them received grants of land. Now these governors or the prince who were in charge of that particular province, they sometimes got salaries and mostly they used to get grants or land as their tax or as their salary. They even collected revenue from the land and used this to maintain soldiers and horses. So these land that they used to take under control, they maintained, the whatever production was done under that, in that land, that was used as to pay salary to the soldiers and the different land grants also. So these collected land and used to maintain soldiers and army and their horses. So they also provided equal equipments for warfare to the king. These men were known as samantas. So these important men who provided the rulers with the army, they were known as samantas and they used to get land grants. Now whenever these rulers were weak, Samanta tried to become independent. Yes, because whenever the rulers became weak, whenever the king became weak, or wherever the kingdoms were not under the control, or when these Samanta became more powerful among the men, they broke from the main empire and became independent rulers. Now the next, like the position of the ordinary people in India. So the ordinary people in India of this period that we studied in this chapter were they had a lot of important scriptures that they had written. There were literary sources that were there from the period, and there were accounts of foreign travelers, of travelogues. Even they were, the interesting feature of all this was there were different plays also written among them regarding King's Court. There were inscriptions, there were prashastis as we studied in the first. So there were some famous plays that were written were Kalidas Abhijanam Shakuntalam. This is a story between a love between the king named Dushyant and the young girl named Shakuntala. So these were the scriptures that were written, not exactly scriptures, they were these plays written by Kalidas. Then there was Chandragupta Chinese Buddhists, there were a lot of Buddhist pilgrims who also came. There were like Fayan, there were Zhuangzang, there were Ilsing, there were so many other. And these pilgrims who came to India, they basically remained in India. They studied the Buddhist culture. They took many Buddhist scriptures with them. They were in the king's court. They wrote about the king, how was the kingdom. Like these writings were known as travelogues. So they were some of the important rulers, important travelers who came to these rulers in the Gupta period. In Harshacharitra was also written. Then all these Harsha's period, Gupta period, Chandragupta Maurya's period, they were all of these, and they wrote about the people and the kingdom. So I hope you have understood the chapter well. Please see all the videos and write the answers. Thank you.